Like we don't take any royalties from the artist. We don't ask for any reinvestment from the artist. We are literally just giving money away. It sounds really weird because people aren't used to that kind of thing, but we just want artists to be able to get into the space and feel comfortable that they have resources, which is the finance, but also support. So when we invest money into artists, we're investing time, we're investing energy, we're investing advice into the artist and making sure that they can navigate their careers in a brand new world with that support behind them. So they don't feel so uncomfortable about just venturing into something without knowing. Okay.
Hello, welcome back to the podcast. This is, of course, the NFT Project podcast. You are with Project DJ and boy King Koi. We have a very special guest here this evening, DAO Master Dan from MODA DAO, the king himself, on the podcast. Oh, Jai's just dropped out. That's perfect. Perfect timing. We lost Jai there for like half a second after I just did a great intro. Yeah, man, it's a pleasure to have you here. I've seen the project personally, and I know all three of us have pop off in October. Was it October you guys did the token drop, or was it November?
No, that was actually end of November, start of December. So it was like that week between the 2 months. That was a pretty crazy week.
And Aaron knows, Aaron can vouch for this. I was like, oh man, I missed the email completely, and when I went to go register for the tokens, I'm like, oh, it's too late because I had to go KYC, and KYC was like 3 days to KYC. I'm like, yep, that's the end of that. I'm not involved in that project anymore, so let's like figure out what else we're doing.
And no one's shocked that Brock missed an email.
Yeah, that's no one's shocked. But we also know, Jai, I can't remember his name for the life of me today. We actually know one of the artists. Sorry,
Tom Riddle.
Tom Riddle.
Tom.
Oh, sick.
So we're Tom, obviously being a Gold Coaster as well, and myself running an agency, I've come across Tom, and Tom's gotten advice actually of both of us, like Jai and I, at different times. So he's a legend, and we were psyched to see him get some funding from you guys as well. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let you talk for a little bit, and how about you tell us a little bit about what you do for MODA DAO and obviously what the project's all about.
Yeah, of course. So best way to think about it is I kind of take a bird's eye view on the entire project. So my whole role is just to make sure that everything from tokenomics to marketing to community management, Music 3 blueprint, like everything in between is being looked after, and that those who are the heads of those particular, I guess, working groups is the best way to think of it. Things are happening. So, just looking after everyone, making sure that if there is roadblocks in their way or if things are a bit, hard to do, I make their lives easier to make sure that they can execute on what they need to get done. So it's really that kind of like that organizational perspective around the DAO. And then in terms of what MODA DAO does, the best way boilerplate to think of it is we're trying to bring fair ownership rights to musicians on chain. So it's the biggest problem, obviously, with legacy music industry, and legacy meaning Web 2, is that artists are kind of at a disadvantage. They're finding it difficult to earn more and more of a just a normal wage. It's very rare for people to be, making, I don't know, a normal amount of money per year. You're kind of either in the bottom or like very high up in the top. Of course, that's a generalization. There are people who are in the middle there, but that's kind of generally the way that things work. And so the whole idea behind MODA is just to make sure that if you're a musician, if you're a creative, and you're someone who wants to make music as a career for the rest of your life, you can do so without needing to be the Deadmau5s of the world or the Juice WRLDs of the world or like the really top tier artists. You can still make what you love and make a living from it.
Yeah, it's funny that you said we've been talking about that so much over the last like 3 or 4 episodes, especially just that middling artist where you're kind of in that no man's land of where you're so close to success and being able to live off your career, and you should be able to because you're actually charting. You especially in Australia, like charting, it's not Billboard charts, it's the Australian charts, so there's still not as much notoriety in a sense that comes with charting in Australia. Yeah. So you can be an artist that's charting, has tours, has all that kind of stuff, but you would still not be making enough money essentially to survive on and support a team, which is what you need to move forward and succeed. Like, you need the money, you need the team. Like, it's hard to stay sort of focused and keep on pushing yourself without those people around you, essentially.
Well, you need that expertise. Like, I myself, I've been working as an independent music manager since late 2017. So I'm very knowledgeable in that legacy music industry. And a lot of what artists want to do is they don't care about the bullshit of business. I mean, obviously, it's good to educate artists and make sure that they do have a fundamental understanding of what's happening. But at the end of the day, they're an artist. They're creating. They're trying to be in the studio, making music, doing the things that they love, without having to worry about, am I getting this revenue split properly? Am I earning these royalties? When does this placement come in? It's just too much. So having that team behind you, people who can back you and make sure that those things are being taken care of and you can create your art, is so important. And so, like you've already addressed, money is a big problem, a big part of that. And artists just aren't able to afford it, really.
So like a big part of MODA DAO, you're just trying to help artists gain access to that team and funding without necessarily having to, take another leap forward, essentially.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, like the end goal for MODA is to be kind of one-stop shop. Is just such a generic and annoying term in my eye, but it's kind of like the best way to think of it. It's that we want artists to be able to come to MODA DAO. They can mint their music NFTs on chain. They can get decentralized distribution both on and off chain. They can get publishing, sync licensing, everything that they need to be able to release their music to an audience on chain. And that's really what we're trying to provide for them. It's that tooling aspect, right? And then aside from MODA DAO as well, there's also Emanate, which is a streaming company. They're kind of similar in that they're actually owned by the same guys. Emanate is streaming, MODA is infrastructure. So essentially, an artist could mint their NFTs, distribute their NFTs out. Their NFTs could be streamed on Emanate, and they can earn royalties from doing so. So it's that whole ecosystem that we're trying to create for artists.
I think and just touch on sorry Dan, just quickly, just touch on, for people who maybe are not aware of MODA DAO, do you want to talk about like who you guys are like partnered with, just like give that like a bit of backing to show that people that like these players are in this industry right now working on this?
Of course, yeah. So like some big players, Dean Wilson, who runs Mousetrap, and Mousetrap, for those of you who don't know, is like the management agency for deadmau5. There is Ben Turner, so he looks after the guys like for Richie Houghton, for example, who's been like a huge EDM producer. There's Harvey Tadman, he looks after Ayita Management, which looks after Chris Lake. Joel Barbo, who looks after Blondish. So a lot of really big players in the EDM music scene and those management agencies. And we think it's important that having that kind of expertise and backing is what's going to hopefully get us to the next level. Aside from that, there's other other partners. So this guy called Matt Brown, he actually used to work for Dolby Audio. So he's built our audio fingerprinting tool, the algorithm from the ground up. Then there's other people like Subpack, Paper Chain, even Richie Barpay from Club Media, who's looking after like AIs in the industry. Like if you guys have ever seen, can't even remember her name, but it's like an AI artist. It might be Lucy or something like that, where it's literally just an AI robot who has become a huge artist.
We had
loads of huge backing, loads of huge partners, all mostly based in the legacy music industry, which is interesting. But the reason being is because those guys know the future of Web3. They know that they want their artists to be bridged over to Web3, and they just want to help us in any way that they can.
Yeah, it's kind of like just making sure they're out, at least whether they have the time to or not, at least being a part of it, to know that if the time comes that they want to make the full-on jump, that they've got the asset there, essentially.
Exactly right. And I'll tell you, I won't tell you who is saying it because that might not be the best thing to say, but we have artists who are on our rosters who are saying like, please hurry the fuck up. We don't want to be on Spotify anymore. We want to be in Web3. Like we're getting that feedback. So
that's right.
It's happening. It's in the industry. Artists want this. It's just about making sure that the infrastructure that we build is robust enough to handle that kind of traffic and that kind of, revenue flow and everything else that comes with it.
So I think it's probably important that we take one step back a little bit, because I don't think we've spoken about DAOs on this podcast before, have we, boys?
No, not yet.
I don't think we have. So, Dan, you're in a DAO, obviously, and you know probably more about how they run than we do. Do you want to just give a brief explanation of what a DAO is in your words?
Yeah, cool. So DAOs they're pretty much a decentralized, flat, horizontal business model that exists as a collective. So it's probably better to explain a DAO and the differences when you think about normal business structure. So in regular Web2 business, you've got the CEO and all the co-founders and the head honchos. They decide what happens, they decide the mission, and that's disseminated out through the bottom. And then eventually you got the bottom tier guys who are actually carrying out the dirty work. The idea behind a DAO is that everything is flat, that there are no necessarily anyone like at the top who's calling the shots. And everyone who is a part of the DAO, the community, core contributors, community contributors, whoever they may be, all have just as much as an impact in the DAO as anybody else. Interestingly enough, so I've been starting to think of different ways to organize DAOs and to structure DAOs. And the best way I can think of it is like an organism. It's a living cell. You've got the edges of the cell. That's the core boundaries, the mission that you're trying to fulfill. And then within that cell, you've got little working cells who are all trying to deliver on that mission and connections between those cells, like mitochondria, cytoplasm, the powerhouse of the cell. That's kind of how I'm starting to think of it. Like DAOs are living, breathing organisms where one part cannot exist without the whole, and the whole cannot function without the parts.
That's a really good description. I'm glad I asked you now because I wouldn't have come up with that. And so what are the, I've looked into MODA DAO a little bit. Like there's the three sort of core pillars that you guys sort of do. Yeah. Just give us a little bit of insight into what they are and what those three pillars are and sort of what's involved with them, because it's sort of the three different sides. I think there was the toolkits, infrastructure and toolkits. Then you had the publishing ecosystem, and then obviously the innovation lab as well. Want to just a little bit on what those things are, so we can understand, what you guys do, and then maybe if people want to get involved, if are there certain areas within there that interest them, kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. So we can start off with the Music 3 infrastructure. So that's kind of like that tooling thing that we were just touching on. So it's having those minting tools that are available to artists. It's having distribution that's available to artists. It's all those different things that, like, for example, everyone knows DistroKid and TuneCore. That's distribution. And then everyone knows about like SoundCloud and Spotify. That could be maybe your releasing of your music. But we're trying to build a model where you don't necessarily need to use those things. It's kind of all built in there for you within MODA. Publishing, that's something that's obviously really, really important in the industry. Having a publishing arm is just a huge part of music overall in the legacy music industry. So being able to publish your music both on and off chain in a decentralized manner is what's going to really drive us forward. And then obviously in conjunction with publishing, you've got sync licensing and that kind of thing. So I guess the best way to think of publishing is, in legacy music industry, you'd go to a record label, you'd say, hey, we want to get one of our singles and we want you guys to publish it for us. And then that's when they do the marketing, they push it for you to all the different arms, all the different ecosystems so that you can generate revenue off of it. Sync licensing is more to do with like radio and movies and TV and that kind of stuff. So that's that kind of arm. And then in terms of the MODA Innovation Hub, this is where we really want to open things up for the community. We are a DAO after all, and we want the thousands of people who are part of our community to be thinking about how they can improve the DAO that they are a part of. So it's that innovation piece. It's that you might be a community member who just holds a couple tokens and might be voting in our proposals, but maybe you've got a really good idea about how you can change music for the better or how you can change the DAO for the better. And that's where we allow for the Innovation Hub and for innovating. I guess one of the initial things that we've done for that is the artist grants, which you've already mentioned with Tom Riddle and whatnot, where we're giving grants to artists to be able to fund Web3 projects for themselves, to be able to get their feet wet, get them through the door and get them starting to create on Web3.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Are all those so all of these things you're talking about, like the toolkits, the publishing arm and stuff, is this then something that if you wanted to utilize these tools and these, minting platforms as an artist, you have to be part of the actual DAO to access these? Or is this something that you will eventually have as a product that anyone can use, but whether that's, it's all run by the DAO and sort of the money gets, if there's any profits, they go back into the DAO, or is it something that will be exclusive for DAO members only?
No, so I think actually two kind of questions there, and I think the answer to both of them is that they're kind of one and the same. So anyone can participate in MODA. Of course, you do need to hold MODA tokens, and that is starting to become a model that's quite clear in the industry, is that if you want to participate in a project, holding the project's tokens and having skin in the game says that I support this project, therefore I want to be a part of this project. But once you've initially got past that step, we want you to be able to explore all these tools. We want you to be able to use MODA to its absolute fullest extent. And then once that starts to occur, artists can go anywhere. The idea behind a DAO is that we would love to bolt on different kind of organizations. So we don't necessarily see any kind of project in the Web3 ecosystem as a competitor. We see them as a collaborator. Like, we want to work with people who are working on other platforms. We want to be able to give them the tools that they're seeking. We want to give them the ownership rights that they deserve on chain. And if they want to go off and release with a different project, like Audius, for example, or Sound XYZ, that's cool with us. It's fine. But if we can provide them the tools to be able to do so, then that's job done. We're cool with that.
Awesome. I love that. That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, we're big fans.
How good's collaboration in the Web3 space, hey?
It's a phenomenal thing, dude. I love the community of the Web3 space. It's funny because in the Web2 industry, everything seems so hush-hush. Like, you have to know someone to know someone to know someone, pay them thousands of dollars before you get an inkling of information. But in Web3, you can hop into any Discord and you could be chatting with a co-founder within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And they're like, here's all the steps you need, go for it. And I love that mentality. It's so much better for up-and-coming artists.
Yeah, it's very easy to find a group of people that will help you find your way in the space. Yep. Or if you're sitting in a particular niche and you're looking to do, whether it be marketing, whether it be minting, whether it be creating a wallet, there is always someone ready to hop into a chat with you and guide you through the process. So it's been a big part of the content that we put out here, as well as talking about collaboration, and we're massive fans of it. And it's good to continue to see it even in larger projects like yours.
100%. Absolutely, man. That's the goal at the end of the day.
Yeah, it should be more prominent in the music industry.
Yeah,
in the legacy music industry, but it's just a shame that it's not.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that's also a good testament to the people who are on our board, like who are Dean Wilson and Ben Turner and those kinds of guys, because they are high end. Like, that Dean Wilson has made his millions of dollars and he could just be sitting on a golf course for the rest of his life. But he understands that giving information to the next generation so that they can be successful in what they're doing is just as important as what he's done. And that's why finding those kinds of people is super powerful.
I want to know a little bit about how, like, your thoughts on sort of how this Web3 stuff's going to change, like the bigger picture of things, because I think having this transparency that we're all talking about is something that's really going to change the music industry. And, it's something Web2, like you said, it's a little bit secretive kind of thing, and people could be paying for plays. They could be, paying for placements on certain things, radio stations, all this kind of stuff, Instagram followers, social media, paying for all this stuff, and you've got a team running your social media and things like that. I mean, a lot of those secretive barriers are almost removed in Web3 because you have to be so active with your communities and things like that. Is that something that, you think is going to make a huge difference? And, is something like a DAO, like MODA DAO, being decentralized like that? Do you think that's sort of the best model that we're sort of going to see for, a lot of these companies?
I think that in future it will. I think right now, because everything is so brand new and because DAOs haven't really started to rise to prevalence until the last, year or two, it's still so early days, and we're all still figuring it out. Like me personally, as a DAO master, my title might be DAO master, but full transparency, I'm still learning. I'm still figuring things out as we go, and I'm still forming an opinion on how things are going to look in the next 5 to 10 years. So in my view, as long as we continue along the path that we are right now for the next 5 to 10 years, then yes, DAOs could be the answer. Collaboration could be the answer. Removing those barriers and bringing transparency to the forefront of what everyone does could absolutely be where we go. And I'd love to be in that position in 10 years' time. But yeah, right now it's just about figuring things out. It's about learning, and it's just such an exciting time. We're all so goddamn early, and we couldn't be more in a better position to be kind of leading the way in where things will look in the next 10 years.
Yeah, it's a big mantra of the podcast that there are no experts in the space. So,
right.
So beware of someone calling themselves an expert.
100%. Yeah, no, I've seen that so many times. Like if someone's hit you up on LinkedIn and they say they're an expert in NFTs and they're going to tell you exactly what you need to know, steer clear. Please run away, because they don't.
I don't think I trust anyone who messages me on LinkedIn.
I don't think so either. And it's good because and it's the same thing. Like even with founders and some people, like Sean Gardner, for example, he's the guy who founded Emanate and MODA DAO. He'll be the first person to tell you that he's not an expert. He's running the company and he's not an expert, and that's just a testament to how early we are and how much further we have to go.
Can I just ask Dan how you got into MODA DAO?
Oh, this is good. I mean, that's a good story. Yeah, I'm keen to tell you. So I actually used to work in banking. I was in the finance industry straight out of high school. I worked for 2 of the big 4. For those like in Australia, the big 4, that's ANZ, NAB, Commonwealth Bank, and Westpac. So I worked for 2 of those guys, and very quickly realized that the traditional finance industry is just so flawed. There are so many holes in it. Just big thumbs down all the way. And so during that journey, I kind of realized that this was not where I wanted to be. I enjoyed finance and I liked the maths, but I didn't like how everything was just built. There was systemic issues the whole way through. So then I think it was late 2019, I started to really get interested in crypto. I think it was like 2017, where the ICO boom. I was like, oh, Ethereum's really cool. It's like $200. I should buy some. And then 2019 rolled around, really started to get into it. And then it was a full year and a half of just grinding, reading as much as I could, learning. I don't know how many white papers I've read, like hundreds at this point, and just teaching myself what blockchain is at like a really deep level, because that was what I found most interesting. I was one of the early ones who got into compound finance when that was blowing up and when DeFi was really starting to hit big. So that was good fun. And that was all while I was working with one of the banks. So I'd be at my desk I was in home loans. I'd be at my desk talking to people, and then like on my phone, like
get me out of this.
Compound finance work. How do I do So it was probably really bad if anyone caught me. And then I think it was mid 2021. I was really because I felt like I'd learnt enough to start to work with the company. Tried to get involved with Binance Australia. They weren't having it. And then started texting Sean, the founder of Emanate, through Telegram. And I was just like, hey, man, I love what you guys are doing. Prior, I was into Audius and then realized Emanate was better than Audius. So then messaged him and was like, this is really, really cool. And I wanted to work with Emanate. I was like, can I please get on the team with Emanate? And he was like, no, we've got too many at Emanate, but I would love for you to work at MODA. I worked for him for free for 6 weeks while working at the bank still. Eventually convinced him to hire me full time, and the rest is history.
Love that. And that's a story we hear often in Web3, like NFTs and all that kind of stuff, is that's how people sort of do it. It's like you prove that you can do the job, and then people give you a shot because it's just the model it's that collaborative model again. So that's awesome, man. That's a great story of how you got into it.
I think it was also because I probably worked for him for free for too long, and he was kind of like, I'm gonna have to let this
feel bad.
Pay him. Real bad. So it's like, I'll just pay him and see how it goes.
Yeah, Brock and I know about working for free.
Dude, it's one of the guys, man. Like when you find something you love, it's like working for free is completely fine. And then when someone starts paying you, it feels so weird. I'm like, I feel guilty taking this guy's money. I just want to do my thing. But you know, you get over it eventually.
As soon as your bank balance starts filling up, you're like, oh,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's nice. So you're not working for the bank or anything anymore. You're doing this full time now.
Full time. Like I've been full time since mid 2021. So I'm currently DAO master at MODA DAO, and I've also recently gone DAO master with Pummel, which is a move to earn app as well. Starting to think it might be interesting to start taking on more and more clients just as a DAO master. It seems that because obviously I launched MODA DAO with Sean, so it was just me and Sean launching that company in November, December. It was like an absolutely mad dash. We launched on 4 different platforms, and I was kind of like I wouldn't give in. I was like, we need to get these platforms done. It felt like we were only going to launch on 2. And within about 12 hours, I made the other 2 get across the line, which was pretty crazy. And then now I'm also working with Pummel to launch their company as well. So eventually, like people need people who know how to launch companies, and especially with knowing tokenomics, knowing gamification, knowing those kinds of deep level kind of stuff. So it could be interesting to start to work with more people, but right now I love working with MODA, and I love my people, I love my team, and I'm pretty content with just moving with that at the moment.
It's definitely an untapped resource, is the ability to troubleshoot. So if you already have the skills and you've already been in the trenches, that ability can, span across whatever business, whatever situation you're in. So I can see that you'll become a great, already a great asset, but I can see you'll become an even bigger asset across the years, which is going to be amazing for you. I can't wait to see where you end up.
Thank you.
One thing I did want to sort of ask about is kind of for the artist grants in particular. And I know we're actually going to have a chat with you soon as well with one of the artists that you're looking after, that you manage as well.
Yeah.
Does he have a grant as well?
He does, yeah.
What's the sole intention for the grant? Is it and what's the process that an artist has to go through to basically get that off you guys?
Yeah, perfect. So sole intention is literally just to fund an artist and get them into Web3. Like we don't take any royalties from the artist. We don't ask for any reinvestment from the artist. We are literally just giving money away. It sounds really weird because people aren't used to that kind of thing, but we just want artists to be able to get into the space and feel comfortable that they have resources, which is the finance, but also support. So when we invest money into artists, we're investing time, we're investing energy, we're investing advice into the artist and making sure that they can navigate their careers in a brand new world with that support behind them. So they don't feel so uncomfortable about just venturing into something without knowing, okay? So the intention is just to make sure that artists can start their careers in Web3. The best way to start doing things is we have a type form that artists can fill out. Pretty much just basic normal stuff. It's like, what's your name? What's your artist? What are your social links? That kind of thing. And then we ask them to submit a proposal. So the whole artist grant is based around what project are you building on Web3 that we can assist with you either finishing off or getting to market or that kind of thing. To kind of give some examples. So one of the artists is working on a brand new business model that's like artist centric. The idea is to decentralize an artist's team and allow the community and supporters to be their team instead.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah. Then there's other stuff like Tom Riddle, for example. He's working on an NFT project that he's going to be releasing to artists with like brand new utility that hasn't been seen on the market at the moment. We also have an awesome artist. Her name's Nina. She's actually building a Web3 based record label that is targeted at the LGBTQ community. So those who seem to have less of a voice in the industry, and to encourage more of those people to come on board. So just those kinds of things. It's like, what are you building? How can we help you build it?
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's not necessarily that you just want to release an NFT. It's that you're trying to do something, of at least of significance in the space as well. Yeah.
Exactly right. And we find that really, really important. Sometimes there are artists out there who like, oh, we want to release an album and we'd like you to help us with the marketing and with the media and the PR. And that's well and good too. And we want to support that as well. And then what generally happens is after we've got the proposals, it'll go through like an internal review process. So we've got something like 10 different core contributors in the DAO. It's just a review process to ensure that what we're getting isn't like
garbage.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that. I'll tell you, like, some of the proposals we get is literally like, we'll be
money,
like,
please.
What do you want to do? What do you want to do? And they'll say $5,000. And they'll be, what do you want to do with that $5,000? Invest. And it's kind of like amazing, but that's not the idea, guys. So that's kind of what it is. It's just that review process. And then once it's been approved by the review process, we put it through Snapshot. For those of you who don't know, Snapshot is it's like a voting mechanism where it allows the communities to vote on different proposals, whether or not they like them or don't. Once the community has had the final say, because that's the most important part of the DAO, we can then approve or disapprove of the grant, and then we distribute the funds.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's definitely I feel a lot of alignment, with a little bit of, eventually if we move heavier into our own project, moving into a DAO definitely seems like a really smart idea, and having that ability to help just ease the pressure on artists as they enter the space, because it's still, what we've found the most interesting is the constant mention of the barrier to entry.
Yep.
And it's not really monetary, it's knowledge based, but no one can seem to disseminate the two. They kind of like feel the second they come into the space, they need a whole bunch of money to do something like this astronomical thing. And it's like, no, just come in, test the water, like just mint your first NFT. There's multiple platforms that you can do that on for free. Yep. But yeah, there just seems to be that big disconnect. Do you guys have you guys been experiencing that as well? I think is sort of the question that I was alluding to.
Yeah, a lot of the artists do kind of lack that education piece. It's super important for us that we start. Well, we're already doing it, and that we're trying to educate artists as much as they possibly can. But then again, when you have those artists who are coming up for the proposals, for example, we generally book meetings with them and have conversations with them. Because what they'll say is they'll be like, I need $5,000 because I have to mint on Ethereum, and because it's going to be this heavy and there's going to be this much data and blah, 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 blah. And then I'll say to them, no, you can actually go to Polygon, and Polygon's going to mint your NFTs for next to nothing. You'll be able to get them into the marketplace on OpenSea. And then if you have a community behind you, you might actually be able to generate some cash off of those NFTs. So it is that lack of education. People are so worried about high expenses. And it's like, if you just spend a little bit of time, take your time, breathe, and really kind of build that knowledge up, you might find that it's actually way easier to get into blockchain than you might think.
I think that the markets...
artists are always looking for an excuse, aren't they, as well? They're just like, nah, too much money. Nah, not doing it.
I was going to say the market's definitely giving us the current market situation is definitely giving us an opportunity to breathe a little bit now. I think everyone's going to be able to take that foot off the gas a little bit and understand and try and get into the space a little bit more wisely and slowly, in a sense.
Yeah, well, that's definitely a thing. And when the markets are behaving the way that they do, people generally feel like a sense of like maybe glum, and they're a bit down on what's happening. Maybe their portfolios are down, or maybe they're like, crypto's not all that it was a year ago. I don't want to be a part of it. But in this case, I always advise people, sharpen your knives. Build your knowledge, learn, take the time to build, because you have the time to do so. You might not have the time to buy, or you might not have the time to get into the market, but you absolutely have the time to increase your self-value. So do that.
Yeah, it's definitely the best time to, like right now, I feel, as when all the chaos is happening, it's definitely the best time to join the space, because all the fluff leaves the room. There's no more, there's no more garbage. Yeah. The garbage on Twitter disappears. Yep. The people in Discords trying to show you stuff go away, because they can't see the money in the market anymore. So all those people, all the bad actors leave the room, and then it's just all of us in here left who are working, who are trying to build and bring something together for our respective industries.
Right. I mean, when it's on the up, you've got the perfect seat. You're in with
exactly.
You're already there.
Yeah. Way back up, you're in your best position possible.
Exactly right. Now, I mean, like, who knew that building a brand new financial system that's never existed before was going to be so difficult?
Yeah, totally. And so like with MODA DAO and that, you guys you're not attached to one chain or anything. Like you guys, will advise people to be on Ethereum or Polygon or Solana or whatever it might be. It's not like you guys are attached to one, blockchain or anything, right?
No. We wanted to be as multi-chain as possible. So, I mean, to kind of like get a really good example, when we launched on Phantom, Near, which was technically Aurora because Aurora is the EVM compatible chain of Near, Ethereum, and Polygon. Our whole thesis is that because we're catering to artists, what you'll find is some artists will go to a chain and they'll find a community that they really resonate with. So Tezos, for example, right? In our mind, we don't want to be stuck on one chain like Ethereum and have to force the artist plus the community they've found over to Ethereum. It's more like we want to go to them. So being as multi-chain as possible is going to be such a big part of now as well as the future. Multi-chain really is where things are going to eventually have to go. But yeah, you want to cater to those who are going to be using your product and bringing your product to them rather than trying to have to force them to come to you.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought up multi-chain. Do you feel it's something that's been on my mind a little bit over the last month? Do you feel we're getting closer? Like, do you feel like there's a timeline to that? Not just for MODA DAO, but in general for the crypto community, the MusicNFT community as a whole? Is there going to be? Do you feel there's a certain timeline attached to that, where we'll be just like freely moving between certain chains, or do you think it's still?
I think we're still pretty early. I would love to say that moving freely between chains could happen in the next 5 years. That would be like an awesome timeline to be moving on. I'm not sure. I'm not overly confident about it, but there are things that are happening in the background that are creating multi-chain situations. So Layer 0, for example, Layer 0 enables messaging between different chains. So you can send data packets from one place over to the other. So they exist. There's also other platforms like Axelar. Axelar allows for the linking of token assets between different chains. So multi-chain is absolutely happening in its very infantile stage. It just depends on how quickly multi-chain starts to really pick up. There's also the other argument around how layer 2s and layers start to come into play with Ethereum, for example. So you've got Polygon as a layer 2, then you've got Zk rollups, you've got optimistic rollups, things that are built on top.
People are all, it's like you get to a place where you can be multi-chain, but then all of a sudden people are still building other chains, so it becomes more complex.
Exactly, exactly right. So I don't know if it's going to be multi-chains that win out. I don't know if it's going to be like different layers that win out because of obviously Ethereum. And I'm just going to be very, very clear how I am an Ethereum maxi. I love Ethereum, but that doesn't mean everybody else has to love Ethereum either. It's more so just about, for me, it's about finding a community on a chain that resonates with you, and whether or not that turns into multi-chain is just an added benefit for more communities that you can tap into.
Yeah, that's the like the benefits that I see definitely.
Yeah,
I mean, we don't even have a wallet yet for all the chains, so that's like one thing we need, really, isn't it?
It is a pain. I mean, like you've got MetaMask that has different RPCs, but is that a multi-chain wallet or is that just connecting to different RPCs? I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of a bit of gloss in between the two, essentially.
Right. Yeah, exactly right.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much all the questions that we have for tonight. Did you have anything you want to chat with us about? Anything you wanted to bring up with the project?
No, I mean, like, obviously I love what you guys are doing. I think it's fantastic that we have more Australians starting to come into the mix around, like, especially NFTs and NFTs, DeFi as a whole. It's really, really cool to see. And I'm just hoping that everyone that is listening to the podcast is staying out there safe in the markets with what's happening right now. Sharpen your edges, guys. Start to build your tools so that when things start to pick back up, you'll be at the forefront of everything.
Yeah, it was Jai brought up just before you came into the room. He had friends messaging him saying, I hope you're all right with like the market situation. He's like, it's all good. I've just got some NFTs, man. It's like, I don't have millions of dollars in crypto, so it's totally fine.
Yeah,
just some JPEGs, bro. It's all good.
Yeah. But like not investing money that I don't have, like
which is the biggest recommendation you can make for anyone. It's like, if you don't have it, don't worry about it. Like just leave it in your pocket.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think think that's it. We'll just wrap it up here. Thank you so much.
No.
DAO Master Dan for joining us here.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was good fun.
Looking forward to catching up again very soon with your artist and chatting some more about MODA DAO and Web3.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Where can we find you, Dan? What's the best place to find you if people want to follow what you're doing or you know, anything that you're up to? What's the best place?
I mean, you can follow me on Twitter at DAOMasterDan, as we have in here. And I'm going to be over in Decentral Austin speaking on a conference about DAOs and Music 3 if anyone's going to be in Austin. And I'm also going to be over at NFT New York City, all happening next month. So if anyone wants to link up or hang out, feel free to hit me up and we'll do something.
Sick.
Awesome.
Sick.
Right. Thanks a lot. For everyone that is listening, you enjoyed the show, make sure to rate, review, follow, all those beautiful things. Of course, check out DAO Master Dan at DAO Master Dan and at Project DJ _NFT and at Boy King Koi on all socials. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Awesome. See you guys.
Bye.